What up? And we're back. Hope you guys are well. And yet another video. I'm not gonna do editing on this one. Maybe a little bit of editing. It's gonna feel like a live video, but we're just gonna get right into it. The topic of this video is poor standards in business. When people are doing business here in Africa, I've noticed there's so many people that are making money here in Africa, but they are compromising on those standards. And I think if you're coming from, a more advanced country, like Europe, those countries in Europe, the United States or whatever, Middle East, maybe you've been out there for many years and you've gained some skills. You're going to see the same thing that I'm seeing. There's so many guys here in Africa that are making decent money, even lots of money too, but they become sloppy. So let's talk about it. When I was a kid in my village in Zimbabwe, there was always, not always, but there was a couple of rich guys in my village, in my town. Not a village, in my town. My town was like maybe 200,000 people in that town. So it's considered a pretty big town. And everybody, this is the thing about Africa, everybody talks a lot. There's a lot of talking. Because the thing about Africans is that it's a young population and most of them don't have full-time employment. They're hustlers. So they're always hustling. The ladies, most of the ladies, they have informal jobs. So they have plenty of time to talk. It's a very social culture here in most parts of Africa. I'm in Tanzania now. It's the same thing over there in Uganda, I heard. Kenya is probably not as much as here in Tanzania, but Tanzanians love to talk. Zimbabweans love to talk too. And Africans would love to gossip. So there was always, there were always people talking about the rich families. So I knew a couple of rich families, specifically two rich families in my town of 200,000 people. So you can imagine when everybody knows your business like that, you're gonna command a lot of attention. A lot of people are gonna pay so much attention to you. And they will follow up over time to find out if you're still at the top or if things fallen apart. That's the other thing about Africans, man. By the way, it's not just Africans. People in general, they love to yap. The thing about Africans is they have the time that if you're in Europe or in the US, or these other countries, you don't get time to talk. Like, you're always working. So they're always like talking about people, especially people with money. And I figured it out, is that there's a lot of jealousy and envy in there too, because there's so many people that look up to these wealthy families and they also want to have money. So by them talking about these people, some of them are secretly hoping things fall apart for these families. It's pretty unfortunate. That's human nature. You can't control that. It's human nature. What I noticed is there were times where, you would see like the wealthy family making a lot of money, maybe a stretch for like 3 years. And then things started to slow down a little bit. The standards of their business started to decline. There was a family, for example, that had buses. There were like the biggest company that was running commercial buses. These were buses that would run between, my town and other towns in my country. So they were the biggest, they were the most competitive ones. So they made a lot of money. So you can imagine in a town of 200,000 people, you get 10,000 customers, every single day, and you're making maybe 50 cents per customer. That's like $5,000 a day. In Africa, that's a lot of money. $5,000 a day is a lot of money in a small town. So they had a monopoly. So they were so wealthy. But I started to notice like the bus service quality started to decline after a while. The seats were kind of falling apart. The workers that worked there were kind of sloppy. And I would wonder, like, what's going on? Is it the workers that are lazy? Is it the employees? Sorry, is it the employees that are lazy? Or is there something to it here? I was young. What did I know? I didn't know anything. It's not until I became, much older and then I started to do business myself. And of course, the corporate side. I've been in corporate for a long time, for at least 20 years. So I would learn like, okay, this is how people maintain standards. And then this is how you level up. So you might not start off, by the way, I didn't start off like this. When I started off like 25 years ago, I was kind of sloppy myself, I didn't know how to put myself together. I didn't understand the benefits of working out. For example, today, I just did 2 kilometers on a treadmill, working out, run it. 2 kilometers, and I make it my mission to run every single day, whether I feel like it or not, because I know it's good for my health, it's good for my energy levels, it's good for my mental. Because when you work out and you put yourself together, you also feel good. And that translates even into your business. You become even more organized in the things that you do because you have more energy. So I used to wonder, like, is it the employees that are scamming the employer now? Like, what is going on here? It turns out it's the owner of the business that became sloppy. This is juice, by the way. It's not alcohol. I don't drink alcohol. That's the other thing I got to talk about. There's so many ways that, people that are in business start to fail. And their standards start to decline. A couple of things. Number one, they start to compromise on how they put themselves together, their standards. So how they dress starts to get sloppy. When you start making money, you have disposable income now. So a lot of what these guys used to do is they would have a bar inside the house. So if you have a bar inside your home, it means like the alcohol is right there. So if you are in your 30s and 40s, like your parents, if you remember your parents, their dream was to have a bar in their home. But our generation, I'm 43 now, our generation, our goal is now to have a gym in our house. I have a gym in my house for convenience. And I keep as little alcohol in here as possible. Maybe 1 bottle of wine, and I rarely open it. It's not even open. It's just for guests. When guests come in, then, my wife and I, we serve that wine, but I don't touch it. It's far away somewhere. That's because I value, putting myself together and keeping my standards up. But unfortunately, a lot of people that are doing business here in Africa, they're still stuck in the old mindset of our parents' generation. So part of what they do is as soon as they start making money, catch a lick. Catching a lick is a term that we use over there in the States, in the US, which means that you caught a big break in business. You caught a big break. Maybe you won a contract and, it's a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe you got a government tender, because that's the thing, right? In Africa, at least in my country, the guys that get government tenders and then they get all excited and then they start drinking too much. There was a story in my country where there's this club. I won't mention names. I'm just going to mention real situations, real scenarios, but no names here. There's a club in my country, Zimbabwe, Harare specifically, where all the guys that have made a lot of money that month or that year would just show up in the same place to compete on how many bottles, they can possibly buy, to flex on each other. It's crazy. They even recruit other guys from different countries like Mozambique or Zambia or whatever, South Africa, to these clubs to flex on each other. And these guys don't make it very far. What they don't realize is that as soon as you start compromising on your standards, it's a very slippery slope. It's a cold game out here. The game of business is very cold. One day you're at the top, you're the man, you're the big man, all the girls are on you. Because this is what happens, right? When you got a lot of money, all the girls are like flocking, because the ladies can sniff money. They're like, oh yeah, this guy's a blesser right here. He smells like the greenbacks. The USD. He smells like the USD. And they're flocking. Fake love. Fake love. Don't fall for that trap, kids. Don't fall for that trap. If she wasn't there with you when you had nothing, don't allow her near you, man. She's gonna bleed you dry. This is the other thing, man. Because it's very difficult to get married once you got money. It's because you don't know. You don't know if it's a real or she's just there for the money. You don't know. I digress. What I'm saying is this. Once you start to compromise on your standards, you start drinking too much, and then you don't take care of how you look, people are going to stop taking you seriously. The reason why you got that big contract, the reason why you started, making a lot of money was because there were people in your community that saw you and said, this one is a sure bet. I can take this one seriously. If I give this person a contract, they're going to deliver on their promise. But we're human, right? We're human beings. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So we're going to make mistakes. And these are the mistakes that I'm talking about, where you stop. We're not going to edit this one, by the way. We're just going to raw dog this. You stop, what's the word I'm looking for here? Focusing on yourself. And then your self-awareness disappears. That's the other thing, is like self-awareness is so critical. It's so important. And you need to surround yourself with people that can call you out on your bullshit. That's the other thing, is like once you start making a lot of money, especially like guys that start making a lot of money, they're caught a lick. They start to attract, people that are fake. People that are not going to keep it real with them. And tell them, yo, listen, man. You're drinking too much. You should be doing this. You're drunk driving now. Do you know how many guys in Africa that die every single day from, sorry, maybe not every day, every single weekend from drunk driving? Do you know how many guys? So many. I know so many guys in my country that were a big deal, you know, money-wise. They made so much money. We don't mention names. They made so much money. They died from drunk driving, guys. What a waste of a life. What a waste. And it's unfortunate because these people were gifted. Were gifted financially. They were blessed financially. And to throw it all away for what? For alcohol? This life is long, guys. This life is long. You can't gamble. And this is what happens with a lot of guys here in Africa. They start to gamble once they get to the top. Then they start to gamble. Like, you know, now all of a sudden you got a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or whatever. Why are you driving drunk? Why are you driving the Bentley by yourself? It doesn't even make any sense. Go look at the guys that have old money. A guy that has old money, long money, and he owns a Bentley. He doesn't drive that thing. If he wants to drink, he has a chauffeur, he has a driver, and a butler, so that if he gets too drunk, the driver is going to drive him home, and the butler is going to help him into his bed to make sure he doesn't sleep on the floor or whatever. Sloppy drunk. Yo, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Bless up. What I'm saying is that we're not perfect, but we have to be self-aware of our standards in business, because one day you're up. It's a very slippery slope to the bottom, back to the bottom. And this is the other thing, is that it seems like once people start making money, they forget where they came from. I never forget my struggles. I never forget the days when I used to eat ramen noodles in San Diego, California. I barely had any money. And then there was this restaurant called, what was it called? Like Jack in the Box. There was Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Burger King was crap. What was it? Burger King was actually more expensive than Jack in the Box. These are fast food restaurants. And back in those days, 24 years ago, I could go to a Jack in the Box. This was when America used to be affordable. Now America is not affordable. Nobody can afford anything. People are miserable as hell right now. This was back in the day. I could go to one of these fast food restaurants like Jack in the Box and Carl's Jr. with like $3 max. And if I had $5 that day, man, I was like balling, because what I could do is I could put that $2 into my gas, right? $2 gas, that would last me like 3 days, probably like 2-3 days. And then the other $3, that was my treat for the week, to go to Carl's Jr. to have a good meal. There was a burger with lettuce, tomatoes, and I can get a soda and French fries. I was balling that day. We were on $5 in America. Now you can't get a meal for $5 in America. You can't. Maybe like minimum $10-12, I think. And then when you add a drink, a soda to it, you're looking at $15. So on average, you're spending $15. That's crazy how times have changed. I never forget those hard times. Even before I used to live in San Diego, back in Africa too, from all those struggles. I came from a village. I used to live in a village, eating ugali, right? This ugali's, you know what it is. Like if you're from East Africa, you know what ugali is. But if you're not from East Africa, ugali is basically like, what is it called? Fufu for Africans who live in the South and the East Africa. It's like fufu, if you're from West Africa. So yeah. So I never forget those days. There were days when I used to be in Africa where I never felt like I had enough food. I was always hungry. I was such a skinny guy back in the day. So when I moved to San Diego, man, I was bawling because I had a job. I used to wash dishes back in the day. Then I moved to LA. That was an upgrade now. Oh, LA, and that's when I started to level up. I went to a restaurant called In-N-Out. In-N-Out was like that was like the more high-end burger joint where you could buy like really good burgers. They still have good burgers there, In-N-Out. In fact, when I go to LA, I'm gonna go over there. And Dallas too. They got In-N-Out in Dallas, so I gotta go there too. It's so delicious. I'm getting hungry. But yeah, so I never forget those struggles. But most people, unfortunately, once they get to the top, they forget. They forget where they came from. This is how people start gambling. You start to gamble, and then before you know it, you're getting sloppy. And this is the other weird thing about life. This is so weird. Life is so weird because when you compromise your standards, for some odd reason, the people that have high standards start to drift away, and you don't notice it. And the ones that have really low, poor standards you start to attract them. It's very strange. You start to attract these weirdos into your life, people who are just takers, leeches and parasites. Takers. And before you know it, you're just looking just like them. You're sloppy, you're ashy, you dress like crap, you look like garbage, you got a big belly. It's like here in Africa, some of the things that I like to do, even though I don't drink anymore, is I like to go to these like nyama choma spots. That's what they call them. Nyama choma spots is if you're from South Africa, if you're from Southern Africa, these are braai places where it's a place where they just go to roast meat. So in East Africa, it's called nyama choma. Here in Tanzania, it's called nyama choma. Kenya, and I think parts of Uganda as well, they're called nyama choma. But in the South, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, whatever, they call it braai. It's an Afrikaner word. I like to go to these places because they also serve a lot of alcohol there. What I like to do is I just like to go over there and get my nyama choma as well. Me and my wife and my family, I like to go over there and just eat meat just like everybody else. But instead of eating meat and beer, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare combination. I cut out the alcohol and just focus on the meat. And I just observe. And what I notice is that from the parking lot, if you pull up, notice the kind of cars that they're parked over there. It's all $100,000 cars. These are luxury Pajeros, Land Cruisers. In fact, I did a video on this channel where I went to Dodoma, the new capital of Tanzania here. And it's also a nyama choma spot. It's very it's rough. It's not like high-end or anything. It's very rough. And in the parking lot, it's nothing but V8s over there. Nothing but V8s. So in my mind, I'm used to like being in Atlanta where the quality of the car and the price of the car matches the person. But it's not the case here in Africa. It's not. A guy who has a $150,000 car looks like a villager. He looks very sloppy. It's very strange. So I'm going into this spot. Like if you start, let's say from the parking lot, then you go into the Nyamachoma spot. Like I'm looking for the people that match these V8s. I'm like, damn, that's a nice V8 right there. Because I know how much a V8 it is. Personally, I'd rather just put the money in crypto. Just me, I don't know. 150 grand? It's not worth it. To me, it's me, you know. I'd rather spend that money on crypto. By the way, if you're into crypto, let's talk about it because I want to learn from you, and then, you know, we can teach each other, right? We can exchange game. Because I'm playing the long game. I don't give a crap about that V8 right now. I'm playing the long game. That's what I like. Because I know what the V8 feels like. I've been to the V8 before. It's a V8. It's a car. It's a nice car. How about that? So I'm going into these joints. I'm like, okay, where's the guy that owns that $150,000 V8? Where is he? So one time I went to one of the guys that served the meat. I was like, yo, where are the guys that got money here? The guy said, oh, you see that table over there? Those guys are the rich guys in town. So I look at the table, I was like, huh, that's interesting. What they like to do is they like to have a big bucket with lots of bottles in there. Lots of beer bottles. That's the flex over here. With ice. Big ass bucket like this. None but bottles of in Southern Africa it's Castle Light. I think over here in Tanzania people love Castle Light as well. Serengeti or Tusker in Kenya. You know, Bollingers in Zimbabwe. Zambezi. So they like to just put that big like bucket of beer right there and then lots and lots of meat. And these guys just sit back like this with bellies this big. They look like they're pregnant. They look like they're at least 5 months pregnant, at least. I'm like, man, does this guy know that this lifestyle is not sustainable? I think a lot of these guys don't know that. Which leads me to believe that a lot of that is new money. If you got new money, it's you get carried away. You get carried away, man. And you need to keep that in check because you want to enjoy that money. If you were worth like $500,000 here in USD, here in Africa, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Your purchasing power is like, you live like a multimillionaire on just $500,000. So why compromise on your health by over drinking, overeating, not taking care of your body, when you could pace it out and enjoy this life? Because this life is long. I think I'll consider myself an OG at this point because I'm definitely, you know, over 40. I've seen guys, I'll call them guys that are older than me, who've lived this quality, this type of lifestyle. This is why I'm living this lifestyle that I'm living right now, because I've seen people that are much older than I am, 20 years older than I am, 10 years older than I am, 30 years older than I am, 40 years older than I am, who live a reckless life, and they look sloppy. They look like garbage because they've been living a poor quality of life for a long time. This is how those standards start to decline. Because when your employee sees you coming into work and you smell like alcohol, you look sloppy, your shirt is untucked, your shoes are not clean, you're not dressed right, they're gonna stop taking you seriously. They can't take you seriously. They can't. And even the type of employees that you're gonna attract, they're also gonna be sloppy. That affects your business across the board. The whole operation is gonna completely get messed up in no time. Before you know it, you're waking up, you're like, well, what happened to my business? What happened? You know what's funny is that a couple of years ago, like, I think it was 2018, 2019 there, right before the pandemic, I used to love making myself burgers because I just had my first daughter, and then I love making burgers for my family. So I would just make lots of burgers. And then when the pandemic hit, the lockdowns, 2019, end of 2019, early 2020, I started to overeat. I think everybody did the same thing. Let's be honest, everybody overate during the pandemic, during the lockdown, because nobody knew if we're going to make it or not. We didn't know. We're being forced to take the jab. We're being told, hey, go take the jab, and then... so we're freaking out. We're in panic mode, you know? So we're overeating. I was making burgers and French fries. Every single Saturday, I was making French fries and burgers. Every single Saturday. And then I remember my routine, right, was I'll go get desserts. And these were cakes. There's a nice bakery in Atlanta called Paris Baguette. If you've ever been to Atlanta or that area, that region, you have to go to that bakery called Paris Baguette. It's incredible. The best cakes. And when you eat them, they don't make you feel too bad, because the quality of those cakes are so good. And the snacks. So I get those snacks every Saturday. And then I make burgers and French fries every Saturday. And just binge out. I pig out. I just pig out. I didn't do sodas. I think what I do. I did a lot of... what did I do? We did some sodas, but not too much. Just pig out. And I started to notice, when I started working out, then I'm looking at my old pictures. I'm like, man, there was one sloppy guy right there. I couldn't recognize myself when I was looking at my old pictures. I couldn't recognize myself. That's how big I was, guys. I was very sloppy. And I could feel it in my body. I was like, man, every morning I'd wake up, I was heavy. I was feeling heavy, and I couldn't even run like half a mile. But thank God right now I can do at least 2 miles a day. It's a blessing. It's all about that routine. And also that routine allows me to keep my standards up. And when you keep your standards up, you can outcompete all of these guys that are pushing V8s. It's very easy to compete with these guys. There's so many things that you have to put in place. You have to create a very strict routine. If you are African and you went to boarding school, I know most Africans that went to school, well, here in Africa, and then traveled or whatever. Not most. Actually, let me say, there's some Africans that were privileged to go to boarding school. I think it's a privilege, because it's like going to military school. It's like going to military boot camp. That's what it is. They're going to boot camp. Everything is very strict. Everything is done at a specific time. Very, very strict. If you ever went there, if you remember how strict your routine was, you had to eat at a certain time. You had to go to daily exercise or workouts every single day. You had to go to, what do you call it, like prep. Prep is more like study. You had study sessions every single day for like 2-3 hours, whatever it is. So it was very strict and very boring. I hated it. The only thing I looked forward to when I was in boarding school was eating. I love to eat because the food was delicious. Thank God, the food is so good over there, the boarding school I went to. But everything else is crap. I had to deal with bullies nonstop. Bullies nonstop. And what I learned is that it prepared you, if you went to boarding school, it prepared you for real life. Because that's how life is. Life is full of bullies and dysfunctional people. Because bullies are dysfunctional people. Oh, there were so many bullies. And over the years, over the last like 30 years, I would track some of these bullies to see how far they've gone in life. Not very far. Not very far. Because they had bad habits. Your habits are going to determine your success in business here in Africa. So be mindful of your daily habits, whatever they are. If you like to go out every single day after work and you like to drink too much, that habit is going to follow you all the way into your business. And before you know it, like, you're that old sloppy guy in his 50s and you're bitter. There's so many guys that are much older than me in their 50s and 60s that are super bitter. They're very bitter. I come across these guys. I can tell these guys are very unhappy because they let themselves go. And when you let yourself go, after like a certain age, it's hard to reverse certain things. If you don't have a good, strict routine of working out or eating right, focusing on your mental, your spiritual, there's so many things you need to focus on. Maintaining a business, a very successful business, starts with maintaining yourself as a human being. Maintain how you look, how you feel. Your peace, you got to protect your peace by any means necessary. You got to protect your peace. There's some guys that made so much money, but they didn't know how to protect their peace. They didn't know how to do it. So they just allowed all kinds of weirdos into their lives to destroy their peace. Haters, side chicks. That's another topic for another day, by the way. Side chicks are a disaster, by the way. Here in Africa, it's a disaster. They'll just ruin your life, man. They'll take all your money. And once you run out of money, like, they just dip. We're going to talk about that in another video. Enough for this one. But yeah, man. You get sidetracked by so many things that will ruin your peace. Even family members too. It's hard when you start making it in business and in life. It's hard to tell people that, hey, man, I think I need to keep a distance from you because how you're doing things is I don't agree with. It's hard to do that because you grew up with these people, you love them, but you got to cut people off now. You got to cut people off, but some people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to cut people off. But you have to do that because these habits are going to destroy your business. This- These poor habits have destroyed other people's businesses here in Africa, and they're continuing to destroy people's businesses here. So if you want to find success in business here in Africa, start with your daily habits. Be mindful of those habits. Be mindful of the people that you're surrounded with. Nowadays, I'm very scared to even go anywhere where there are too many people in a crowd. I'm scared because I know how people are. Before you know it, somebody wants to be a friend. You don't know if it's real, if it's genuine or not. It's hard. You don't know what the person's true intentions are. That's why, like, even if you remember Drake's song when he was talking about no new friends, no new friends. But, I disagree with that. Sometimes you need new friends. Because the old ones are dysfunctional, dog. You need new friends sometimes. I sure do need new friends too, Friends that will lift you up. Friends that will help you and tell you, yo, man, remember that business of yours? Like, things are kind of falling apart. I can help you fix some things over there if you're open-minded. I like a friend like that. You should like a friend like that here in Africa because there aren't too many people. Because remember something, once you start making money here in Africa, everybody wants a handout too. Everybody wants a job. Your cousin wants a job. Your uncle wants the money. Your mom wants some money. Your dad wants some money. Your uncle, you name it. People want something from you. So you got to be mindful of these things if you're ready to work with the best. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to build a community of like-minded people that are interested in leveling up and starting a business here in Africa, doing things the right way, staying focused and staying disciplined, because that's what it takes to get to the top. If you are interested in starting a business and you need some advice, some coaching, schedule some time. This is nothing free, by the way. You have to pay. I charge for my services. This will be a paid consultation. If you're ready to work with the best, you need to know what's going on, the lay of the land over here. I specialize mostly in East Africa, Southern Africa. You want to get set up, you want to get things done the right way, promote your business, network with the right people that are serious. Let's talk. Once you schedule time, I'll talk about how I'm building this network of like-minded people. I want to add you to that group, because once I add you to that group, we're going to all hold each other accountable. Schedule time. Link in the description of this video. I'll talk to you soon. Bless.